Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Wait, what is that? Do you want to fly in the sky? Do you want to shine bright like a diamond? Chill on Kev's record collection for a fair price of $92.99.99 and have all the greatest hits before they're gone.
It's that time of year. We're going back to spooky season. And today we're going to go down a list of a top 10 spooky episodes from TV series. It was a lot more difficult than anticipated. At first I was looking for a lot of Halloween-y themed episodes, but then I realized I really enjoyed the ones that were just more spooky overall, rather than specifically Halloween themed. So some of these might be a lot more low-key, not necessarily Halloween-y, but just carrying an overall spooky tone. So number 10, The Ghost of Sweet 613. I think this is a certified classic at this point. Growing up with Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I didn't really actually have cable as a kid growing up. So my thing was, ABC Kids gonna rock today. Wait, is that how it goes? Saturday, what's to say? ABC Kids are gonna rock today. Oh, I freaking love that TV spot.
It's gonna rock! Oh yeah! Good times! Alright! Give it up for the Emperor's New School right now on ABC Kids!
So we start off with Zack, who's usually our main prankster of the show. Basically, he goes around, does pranks on everyone. Everyone's a bit sour on him, so they decide, to up the stakes against him. They find a haunted suite, Suite 613, which apparently 6 is supposed to represent the 6th day of the week, which is Friday, which anyone else out there feel like 5 times 5 equals Friday? Like 5 times 5 equals 25 equals Friday. And 4 times 4 equals 16 equals 30. You know what I mean? Okay, but 613 are the eerie numbers of the series. The tale goes that there was once a couple who lived there. The boyfriend/husband cheated on her. The woman was so mad, she smashed a hairbrush towards the mirror. The glass shattered towards her, and that was it. And her ghost, ever since, haunts the suite. So our main characters dare each other to go ahead and spend the night in Suite 613, and they get some spooky vibes. I used to watch this episode all the time as a kid on my PSP. Actually, that was probably the only episode I had on there, so... The biggest highlight is Esteban's actor. During the seance...
Who dares to call me in the afterlife?
You would smell... pizza?
And just to talk a little bit more about the show itself, the hotel feels like a main character in itself. There's something very old school Hollywood about it, very slapstick humor. So I really appreciated a spooky spin on it. Not much else to say other than this is such a great episode to set up a spooky tone for October. Number 9, Stay Out of the Basement. So, of course, there's obviously some more Halloween-y episodes of Goosebumps. There's The Haunted Mask 2. There was one, I forget what it was called. The one with the jack-o'-lanterns. I thought that was pretty cool too. But Stay Out of the Basement. Look, I rented this one on VHS from Hollywood Video. My argument is that this is the epitome of the autumn feel of any Goosebumps episode. Just check it out. Autumn leaves, that's all I need to say. It's very sweater weather, and I actually really appreciate the setup of the wholesome family dynamic they have prior. There's a lot of implications that while they may not be the perfect family, they're there for each other and they care for each other, and it's very overall cozy, wholesome, which is a great juxtaposition to the horrors that lie ahead.
Stay out of the basement!
Oh, the hunger abuses, domestic violence.
We're sorry, but...
Story goes is that the family's aunt broke a leg, or is currently hospitalized, so the mom has to fly out and take care of her. The kids stay at home with dad, and the dad does dad things in the basement, I guess. The whole plot is very mad scientist, almost Frankensteinish. In fact, I dare all of us to watch this episode in black and white. It feels very old school gothic. Story of a mad scientist becoming very obsessed with the idea of merging things that maybe, how does it go, the Jeff Goldblum thing? We only kept thinking about if we could, but not if we should. Yeah. It seems like it always starts off with good intentions. A scientist sets out to try to innovate, create new things, blend plant DNA with human DNA, and take the benefits of both. Except, of course, nature has its own intention. It's interesting the words they actually use in this episode. Predators or anything else above us in the food chain, they're not inherently evil. They're just trying to survive. We all need food, we all need to eat, we all need to spread. We all want our species to make it, right? That's all the plant wanted to do. So spoiler alert, the plant is, trying to get out. We're not so sure if our dad is really our dad. And as the mystery unravels, it turns out certain plants that he was working on in the basement grew something more, a form of intelligence, or it makes us question, do plants already feel? The best way I can sort of set this tone up is actually very similar to The Thing. We know something's off about someone. It gives that uncanny valley feel of, hey, I knew this person before. All of a sudden, something's off about them. Their behavior's different. Patterns are different. I don't know what that could insinuate, but
Domestic
I
violence.
feel like there's something deeper regarding a parent and kid relationship. The brother is kind of the skeptic in a way where he just wants to believe in the best. Oh, dad's just tired. That's just very private. But the sister, she knows something's up. In fact, she recognizes it immediately right off the bat of the episode. Freaking love how shows always use the 8-bit remix of Goosebumps themes. Friggin' hilarious. So, towards the end, everything seems to be resolved. Our main character figures out who the real father is, and I'll go ahead and let you guys watch the episode if you guys want to see it on your own. But it always ends with a weird tone. Is the plant still out there? Are there more? I've constantly heard theories about, what if there was a civilization before us on Earth that just went extinct? And we would never know, because if you leave buildings, architecture, any of our stuff, grass, trees, plants, nature, eventually takes over. It always will.
I'm your father. I'm your real father.
Oh, I'm your father.
No, I'm your father. I'm your father. I'm your father.
Okay, going up with number 8. On the Inside, The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead has a very polarizing reputation, to say the least. What I like to say is the first half of the show, the first 6 seasons, 1 through 6, are more about human survival, the interdynamics between a group of strangers that don't know each other, versus the latter half of the show is more about rebuilding society, which I think is a brilliant idea because my magic number is 6. A show can go on for 6 seasons before growing stale, unless they changed the plot, which in this case I think The Walking Dead did successfully. So On the Inside is very peculiar, so the context you have to know is our main characters Connie and Virgil. They're both separated from the group. Connie is our notable deaf character. Most of this episode comes from her eyes. They're escaping a zombie horde. They find refuge in a house that seems to be abandoned. To make it clear, this is actually the B plot of the episode. A plot is focusing on our main character Daryl, who is currently trying to infiltrate the Reapers, a very bad group. While that A plot is moving the narrative forward of the overall season, I think Connie's B plot is the real highlight of this episode. As Connie and Virgil scavenge around and try to find supplies or anything that can work for their advantage, she quickly realizes they're not alone in the house. Spoiler alert, there are different things living within the walls. There's plenty of brilliant scenes where we see very terrifying sequences from Connie's perspective. And I think this episode reaffirms the show is indeed a horror show. All the sound goes silent, and all we can do is wait or take the risk. I do have to give a trigger warning for a couple reasons. For one, in Daryl's A-plot, there are some scenes depicting the bad group torturing one of Daryl's friends. Pretty graphic. Some finger stuff, some fingernail stuff. It's not my favorite type of thing. But second, previous to this episode, Connie was actually trapped in a cave filled with walkers, filled with zombies. Throughout this episode, we actually see her suffer through PTSD, claustrophobia, just the entire idea of being swarmed by zombies. And I think this episode's payoff towards the end is one of the most character-driven arcs there have been. Specifically with just a few seconds of development, it changes her character entirely. This is a bit more intense than most of the shows on this list, but I promise this is a really solid one. If you haven't watched The Walking Dead before, I do recommend the season 1 finale in case you're interested. I think this would be a wild episode to start off with in case you've never watched it before. I recommend just going for one prior to this one, but On the Inside stands on its own. Number 7, Carnival from Malcolm in the Middle. There's a couple other Halloween episodes in this show, but I decided to go with Carnival because I think that's the one that's most nostalgic to me, as well as the spookiest. So the 3 youngest kids, Malcolm, Reese, and Dewey, decide they want to go to the last day of the carnival that's leaving this weekend. Well, really it was actually Malcolm and Reese. Dewey just overheard and they're like, God damn it, we gotta bring him along. They go for the double alibi. They tell their parents they're spending their home at their friend Stevie's place.
This right here is my sweat.
Stevie tells his parents that he's spending it at Malcolm's place. They all go to the carnival. Oh shoot, there's only 15 minutes left. They try to go for at least one ride until they realize it's after hours. They snuck in when they weren't supposed to, and the consequence, they're left alone. This is one of my favorite Malcolm in the Middle episodes ever. Not just the carnival setting, but overall creepy tone. In a weird way, sort of liminal spacey-ish. They try to navigate all alone, and then you start to feel a little bit of helplessness, or in a fun way, the adventure of being a kid. No adults, no one's left, and you're all alone. There's a bit of a thrill in that. There's an overall creepy atmosphere. Their parents eventually find out. They all team up together with Francis to track them down, and that's a funny arc in itself. There's not much to dive in with this episode, and I'll keep the ending a secret in case you guys do want to watch it. It's only a 20-minute episode. There's a couple of fun cameos at the end. It's just an overall great mood of running out during October, overnight, having your own little adventure on somewhere you're not really supposed to be.
Uh-oh. This is like the beginning of every horror movie I've ever seen. I think we should all split up.
Heck yeah! Alright, I'm gonna just be real. Number 6 is one of my favorites ever. What Scared Sue Ellen from Arthur. Again, throughout these shows, there's tons of other Halloween-y episodes that we could choose from, but in my opinion, What Scared Sue Ellen is the epitome of it. The entire mood, the entire tone, the fall atmosphere. Check this out. First off, woof, look at the threads. I love when animated series give our characters sort of a change of clothes to signify the seasons are changing. Orange leaves, the fall atmosphere, even the sky is a bit more yellow. Our main character in this episode is Sue Ellen. She has a reputation of being tough, if not the bravest kid at school. But this time around, when she walks home alone in the woods, she hears something that spooks her. This catches the other kids off guard because Sue Ellen's really the one you would seem to rely on the most. She would never get scared, etc., etc. So they all try to figure out what scared her. This is one of my favorites because it kind of reminds me of that childhood wonder. You hear a random noise, and your mind fills in the blanks.
Binky, Buster, Arthur! If you guys are trying to scare me, it's not going to work.
One of my favorite sequences in this episode is when the kids take turns trying to figure out what it could be. There's references to the Oni Baba. There's a couple references of different stories and folklore. Ultimately, they decide to face their fears, suit up, and try to figure out the source of the sound. Can I just say, this is one of the earliest times I actually saw a jump scare in my life. And it got me pretty good. Damn, the squad's actually squaring up. So they go into the woods to figure out what's going down. And the answer's a lot more pure and innocent than initially thought. Best thing I can say, if you guys are seeing a recurring pattern so far with the mood, vibes. It's just vibes. Vibes. Vibes.
One for all and good for nothing.
Oof, that's right. We had to have an obligatory Simpsons Treehouse of Horror in this list. Number 5 usually is everyone's favorites, and I do agree it's up there. But I will say my personal favorite has to go with Simpsons Treehouse of Horror number 4. And let me just say, the one I had to bump out of this list, because it was a close one, was actually the Springfield Files. That one spooked me so much as a kid, just freaking seeing this and getting freaking traumatized.
Please, don't hurt me.
Don't be afraid.
But I will say the one that has aged the most gracefully, in my opinion, is number 4. I love the opening with Ned being revealed as the devil. We got a classic reference to the Twilight Zone, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. We have really cool vampiric imagery. Vibes. I will say The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror is a lot like Jackbox, where every episode offers different segments. Some are hit or miss. Some episodes have really great ones, and then others are maybe not your favorites. I will say number 4 carries all all the ones I really enjoy.
Have all the donuts in the world!
Alright, we're going into the nitty and gritty. Number 4, The Impossible Planet and Satan's Spit from Doctor Who. Doctor Who inherently isn't necessarily a horror show. Even at its most darkest, the Doctor still cracks jokes. There's a sense of goofiness and silliness throughout the entire show. But I will say, The Impossible Planet is the first time I really got that sense of dread. This one also had multiple honorable mentions. I rewatched Blink, Midnight, Water on Mars, and so on. But this two-parter episode really got to me. If you haven't watched Doctor Who yet, premise is a doctor, played by David Tennant, is traveling the universe with his companion, Rose, played by Billie Piper. They can time travel through space and time. They eventually land on the Impossible Planet. They meet a team who just landed there a bit ago. And they eventually realize they're actually in orbit of a black hole, which theoretically should be impossible. The reason why the planet is impossible is because they discover there's a hidden force of gravity keeping them safe and in orbit. The priority is to drill down the planet to figure out where it's coming from. And holy shoot, there's so much eerie imagery as well as a lot of implications and alluding to something ancient, an ancient language, an ancient voice, something older than time itself. There's some existential dread from the get-go. Now look, if you haven't watched Doctor Who before, I will honestly would argue this is a great episode to start off with, but there's a couple of things you have to know beforehand. One, if you're from the US, the best reference I can use, it's kinda Power Ranger-y, except a bit more mature. Like if Power Rangers, if it were cool when you were 10, which to be honest are still cool, then Doctor Who is a bit more like 13, 14, just a bit more open for anyone to enjoy. So a lot of the effects are, granted, very 2000 CGI. But that's part of the charm, right? As I try to figure out where the source of gravity is coming from, they eventually realize there's something beyond. There's something else with them, an entity killing them off one by one, trying to influence them, trying to get them scared, to face their worst fears they all hold deep down. Yeah, it's the freaking devil. And the way they play it off is actually really cool. I first watched Doctor Who in my early teen, and going back to it now as a young adult, I was kind of surprised how arrogant and a bit egotistical the Doctor actually is. I used to think he was so cool, reliable, oh, he's the guy to follow, but now I see he's someone who's kinda bored. And now I understand why they call him a madman in a blue box. Any situations he's in. Yeah, it's cool. He usually has things that doesn't faze him. But then starting to see the way he reacts and seeing things that are not in his control, the way he throws a tantrum, the way he thinks he's smarter than everyone else. This is one of the earliest episodes that really makes him face that. With the Doctor being a person of science, he tends to find religion great and interesting from a historical standpoint, but he himself doesn't necessarily believe in all of them. And so for the Doctor to come face to face with the devil himself.
I accept that you exist. I don't have to accept what you are, but your physical existence, I give you that. You're imprisoned. Long time ago. Before the universe, after, sideways, in between, doesn't matter. Devil is an idea. In all civilizations, just an idea. But an idea is hard to kill. An idea can escape.
Number 3, Tricks and Treats, Freaks and Geeks. This is episode 3 of Freaks and Geeks. The show revolves around Lindsay, played by Linda Cardellini. She wants to branch out and not just be seen as a mathlete, a little bit of a geek. She wants to be cool, so she starts hanging out with the freaks, the stoners, the rock and rollers. I would say this episode in particular revolves around the concept of aging. We get 3 main storylines, one with Lindsay, one with Sam, her younger brother, and the last with their mom. Lindsay feels a bit guilty that she doesn't really want to hang with her mom as much anymore. But if she's ever going to grow up, she has to spend some time on her own, have her own adventures. So she starts pushing herself on what she thinks is cool. Not necessarily actually cool, just what she thinks her friends thinks they're cool, if they're even actually her friends, you know. Sam knows he's getting older. He wants to treasure this Halloween as much as he can, so they all go in costume. And even as they go trick-or-treating, the response they get is, "Aren't you guys too old for trick-or-treating?" And finally, the mom. She has all these things planned. Cookies, Halloween treats, decorations in the house. It's very cozy, very wholesome. However, what she doesn't realize is that she just might be trying to relive a dream that's potentially gone. She realizes she's not as young as she used to be anymore. Her son is starting to get too old for trick-or-treating, according to the rest of the family. Lindsay's off doing her own thing now. She still tries to give treats to the kids, but during the 80s, everyone's scared. Everyone's scared of unwrapped candy and razor blades ending up in their treats. So they all throw away her cookies. What the heck? No. There's an overall melancholic tone for this episode, in fact, the entire show. And for a while, I thought the mom was going to be the main character of this episode, but Lindsay proves to be the main protagonist when she shows her development. She accidentally eggs her younger brother. She goes back to apologize. She gets back home, realizes, although it's okay to explore and have an adventure and have a life of your own, there's a way to also just not leave people you love in the dust. She makes amends with her mom, and while she tries to apologize to Sam, he's not completely over it just yet, but she's trying. Overall, that's one of the most universal, subtle fears we all kind of carry. Aging. Just aging. Knowing that eventually what we have is all temporary. So, while it's okay that we can grow up, we don't have to totally be in a rush.
You were supposed to be my little princess.
Well, I guess I'll have to be your little prince instead. I'll get it.
Oh. Aren't you the cutest things, Lindsay? Aren't they cute?
Yeah, they are.
Number 2, Scaredy Pants by Spongebob. I believe this is episode 13 of Spongebob. I recently rewatched this just this past week, and I totally forgot how freaking cozy season 1 is. Hand-drawn animation. That sure was something. This episode just has all the Halloween vibes, and beyond that, there really is some warmth attached to it. It feels very analog. Right, so SpongeBob's little arc of the show is that he wants to be brave and he wants to be scary. Because everyone sees him and they just see a little puppy dog, little wee hug, squish. But scary? Nah, never. So he sets out to have the scariest costume of all time. Overall, there's just a lot of funny jokes, great humor, classic SpongeBob written all over it. And while there's less to say about this episode in particular to the rest of the list, when I think about stuff like Halloween, it's more about the mood and tone and immersion, which I think SpongeBob successfully does. When you rewatch the classic Universal monster movies, Dracula, Frankenstein, and so on, most of us usually tend to watch the one with no musical scores, the ones with the ambience, the one with the bats chirping, the thunderstorms and the rain outside. It's more about the experience, and I think this episode brings that all back all together, with a nice little fright at the end.
Hey, what do you know? I scared him!
Alright, some honorable mentions before getting to number 1. Zeebo the Clown. Gladys.
Gladys?
Boy Meets World. Haunted Mask.
Let's just go back to my house, okay?
No. This is my night. Halloween is my night. It's the one night I get to have fun. The one night I don't have to be pitiful, scarable Carly Bat.
The Springfield Files.
Yeah!
Number 1. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Peanuts always hits. Charlie Brown always hits. Let me tell you why. As of recent years, I can definitely say one of the things I personally struggled with the most is just living in the moment. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you're probably in your 20s or your 30s, maybe even 40s. And I think it's a universal feeling. There's certain responsibilities and stresses that come with the condition of growing up. What are you going to do with your life? You're going to constantly think about the future now. It was so bad for me, I almost planned like 30 years ahead of my life. And that's when I knew I had to dial it back down. When I think about the moments that stand out to me the most, the ones that I remember, it's not the events that I go to. It's not just the thrill or excitement anymore. My favorite moments are when I sit down and I just stare up at a light or just off into the distance. Something sort of away, like if I'm at a concert, yeah, I'm gonna freaking enjoy the concert, but when I sit down and maybe look up at the spotlights or just people next to me and just sort of soak in, hey, I'm actually here right now. Just reacting, soaking in, this is the world. You ever remember those moments where you would just look at a wall next to you and you would see the little indentations, the texture, and how it's flawed and not perfect. Seeing little faces and shapes all around it. It's that feeling. And so when I rewatch It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, there's really not that much of a narrative, is there? The kids are going trick-or-treating. One of them stays behind by the pumpkin patch to wait for the great pumpkin. And that's all there is to it. There's not this huge plot we're aiming for. It's not trying to prove itself. It just is. And that's probably my favorite thing about the Charlie Brown specials. It's just allowing ourselves to exist. And honestly, that hits pretty personal for me. I used to struggle with whenever I would hang out with friends, I would get a little sad because from the get-go, when we would start hanging out, I would just think, damn, we have a time limit. Like, in a couple hours, I'm gonna have to say goodbye. And the whole time in my mind, it would just be a countdown timer, which is bad. That's not how it should be. So that's really what I like the most about movies, shows, or even games. The ones that allow us to feel we don't have to build up to anything right now. We could just be here, where we are. And it's not about escaping. It's about realizing we don't have to build up to so much, at least not right away. Yeah, we can get there, for sure. But what's the point of getting there if we don't get to enjoy the time getting there?
I don't see how a pumpkin patch could be more sincere than this one. You can look all around and there's not a sign of hypocrisy. Nothing but sincerity as far as the eye can see.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out the rest of the channel. I try to do some spooky stuff every so often. I have a top 10 spooky game list. There's a couple other things in there. I hope you guys have a great October and a great Halloween. I'll see you guys in the next one.